and welcome back to the play button. Today I am joined by my friends.
Hi.
Hello.
Fortuna.
Yo.
Close. And we have a very special guest, Beat Drop Boss and Master of the Universe, Mr. Mitch Lee.
Woo.
How's it going, guys? Glad to be here.
How are you?
Excited. I'm really good.
Good. Do you wanna are you excited about our topic today?
Well, that's what brought me here. I needed to represent, so that's why I'm here.
So today we are going to be talking about the age-old battle of Macs versus PCs. And what is a good choice for making music, for DJing, what we use them for in our daily lives, and if there is a right or wrong answer, or if it's just
different. What is it? Different folks, different
strokes for different folks.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There's a right answer, guys.
Okay. So first off, let's start with each of you. Tell me what your preference is and what you're using right now. We'll start with you, Mitch.
Preference would be Mac, and what I'm using right now is Mac.
Okay. Gabe?
Preference is also Mac, and I'm using Mac for production, music production.
But
I have a PC at home that I just built for future longevity that I don't want to use, but maybe I will.
And what are you using it for right now?
It's like video production and gaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crystal?
My preference is Mac, but I use Mac for production, so I have an iMac at home. But for portability and everything, I didn't go with a MacBook just because of the price, so I switched to a PC laptop to run Rekordbox and export tracks to my USB, which you're giving me tutorials on, so that's awesome. I don't know Windows that well.
Does Rekordbox play on a Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just for like price wise.
Yeah. No. I thought it was like.
Rekordbox.
No, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do both.
And for the record, I am a hard PC user. I didn't know anything about Macs until I started here at Beat Drop.
Let's gang up on him.
I was pretty green.
Wow.
I can't believe you got hired.
You were pretty desperate.
No.
So the thing that kind of brought this up, it's something that always comes up, obviously, with not just producers, but I think just with anybody who's using computers, what your preference is. But the reason that this came up specifically for this week is there's a new iMac out after quite some time, the iMac Pro. When has there ever been an iMac Pro before?
No.
I don't believe so, no.
No, it's just been an iMac, and it's been a while since there's been any sort of major update.
So this is the first kind of new piece of the new desktop from Apple
And then for any PC users out there, the iMac is the all-in-one screen with the computer built in, right? So,
Yes, and I think it's only available on a 27-inch monitor.
Something like that.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big, yeah.
It's gray.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
Can we talk about the word pro?
Yes.
I feel I see it as a marketing buzzword in the last couple of years. They'll add that word. And I find that anyone that has to add that word, usually it's not pro.
Did Apple invent that? Were they the first ones doing it? Because there was MacBook Pros and
I don't know.
It's a good question.
Maybe it is just Apple, but I feel like there's
from like the early 2000s they started doing that, right?
Yeah, but the software. Remember, like everyone would start adding the word pro to their thing to make it like a bigger. Anyway, that's a side topic.
That's the same what we were just talking about a couple weeks ago. Excuse me, about Serato, the new Serato, Serato DJ Pro.
Right.
Serato DJ 2.0 is now Serato DJ Pro.
Yeah.
Makes it sound cooler.
It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's professional now.
It does feel like a marketing gimmick, though. Like for, what is it, Premiere Pro?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, Adobe does it.
Adobe does it, yeah. And so they have like this Pro name in their products.
I think they dropped that, though. It's just Adobe Premiere, I think, now.
Now, yeah. Oh, maybe. Maybe for the newer cloud version, so.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a thing where it's like if you're starting out, you get the Pro version. Why would you get the standard version, you know?
I think for this new computer, comparatively, if we compare it to a regular iMac, It's pretty pro.
It's very beefy. They should
Yeah.
have called it the iMac Beefy.
A new mixtape.
Shouts to Wendy's.
Joining us on producer side is DJ Sinistar
Yeah.
behind the camera today. So this new computer is pretty beefy. It can run up to 128 gigabytes of RAM. It runs a new Xeon processor
Yeah.
that you were mentioning is server grade.
Yeah, so it's like got faster network capabilities,
Okay.
like faster like throughput for like any Thunderbolt devices that you plug in and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's just like more capable long term for
Okay.
more devices and connectivity.
And the base model is running at
Maybe I think it was 4 gigahertz.
Close to $5,000.
I was thinking more the price.
Oh,
So the base model, which I think is running 16 gigs of RAM, maybe 32, not anything spectacular.
Yeah.
Comparable to a lot of other desktops you're gonna buy is $5,000 American.
yeah.
That's where you're starting for one of these.
Yes.
Who's buying one?
Not me.
YouTubers maybe.
Composers.
Composers will, a lot of guys who are doing a lot of video work,
Yeah.
who are doing a lot of like motion graphics and
Yeah.
like 3D rendering and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just it's people who are in industries that need to be quick and move fast, and their company will buy it for them, or they'll own it to make their workflow faster. From a composing standpoint, I've only seen a couple of videos on it. I've never even seen one yet. It's very powerful. It competes with the latest trash can Mac Pro.
Yes.
And the guy I watched, he couldn't break it. Like, he tried to load in Contact as many sample libraries as possible, as many reverbs. He had like seriously hundreds of reverbs.
I think it was like he did 128 tracks with Contact with reverb on reverb.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
wow.
every
he
track.
couldn't
Wow.
break it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
So from a composing standpoint, that the RAM is really important. I would definitely rock 128 if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it's quicker and I can load that into my template.
Yeah.
So I think who's using it, I think those types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the everyday beat maker and DJ
Probably don't need it.
probably
Right.
it's way overkill.
Is it the first thing I thought was this is a thing that I feel like Mac fans have been asking for a while, something that's a little more serious, right? The iMacs have been more or less the same since 2012, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of a RAM upgrade, a little bit of a processor upgrade, and that's about all that's been happening,
Yeah.
correct?
I would disagree. I don't know
Okay.
if people have been asking for it. I think they've been asking for a new Mac Pro that was
Yeah.
modular. And then Apple went and threw this new iMac out and made it super beefy and like,
Yeah.
hey, and I felt like they're like, hey, this will tide you over till the Mac Pro re-release of this trash can design,
Yeah.
and we make it modular. I feel like that's what they did, and everyone's like, what's this?
Yeah, it did kind of come out of nowhere.
So this is a
Yeah.
thing that nobody asked for.
I don't think so.
Okay.
What I heard people ask, update the Mac Pro, make it modular, and
The old silver tower,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's what people have been missing. And when was the last time they put one of those out? 10 years ago?
yeah. Yeah. Well, that little,
They have
that
the
little
trash can
little
with
trash
one.
can, the
Yeah.
silver one, that's
I-
been out for 5 years, I think.
I know, but the thing, it's like you said, modular. That wasn't modular.
Right.
You couldn't upgrade hard drives in it. You couldn't.
But that's been Mac all the time. We'll get to this in a sec.
But the tower you could. Right? The tower
sort
you
of,
could
yeah.
put new hard drives in.
Yeah.
You could
swap with the
Yeah,
RAM.
you could update stuff. Like you could build it if you
Yeah.
wanted to, right? So you were mentioning MacBook Pro. Or no, sorry, just the Mac Pro, I guess is what it is, right? That's what the trash can is called, a Mac
Yeah.
Pro.
Yeah.
And they're expecting a new announcement for that later this year.
later this year or early 2000. Oh wait, it is 2018.
Oh wow.
Later this year.
Later this year.
If you go to macrumors.com, that's one of the best sites for showing.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Buyer's Guide, and it'll show you the release dates of everything and when to buy, when not to buy. They don't
Okay.
know for sure,
Oh,
but they
interesting.
track every release of every piece of hardware, and it'll show you when not. And they're pretty consistent in terms of when they release a new thing.
Okay.
Usually.
Interesting.
And is that something you guys are going to be interested in? Any of you? Are you waiting with bated breath for that Mac Pro to upgrade your desktop?
Me personally, probably not,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not like a serious crazy composer like Mitch, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He's does movies and composing for movies and things like that. And for myself, I'm just like a beat maker, producing techno. It's nothing like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So my iMac is good enough.
Okay.
What I have now. Yeah. So for me, no.
Gabe?
I would love to upgrade to that thing, to the tower, but it's probably going to be out of my price range. It's probably going to be...
That's another thing too, price.
I don't know. I'm probably not going to need it when it comes out. So, like I said, I just built a PC with the hopes of doing more video editing,
Mm-hmm.
getting more productivity done on that. And, when my MacBook, dies, I'll probably just use my PC and run Ableton on that. So...
There's been a lot of criticism, I know, from creatives when we go back to the MacBooks, is the inputs, outputs, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're down to what, 2 USB-C ports
Well, I mean,
on a new MacBook?
if you want to get the most basic MacBook you
Yeah.
can get, there's one port on it.
Yeah.
And it's
You
the
need an
charging
adapter.
port, which you can also use as a USB port.
With a dongle.
With a dongle, adapters,
Is that
and
the
yeah.
Air?
No, it's just called
No,
MacBook.
it's just the MacBook. It's the really,
Oh,
really
yeah,
thin
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
air anymore, I think.
No, there's no way.
No,
Well,
they-
I mean, they still sell them, I think.
I think
they're not
they
making
still
new
those,
ones.
but they're not making
To
new
me,
ones.
that's a general user. Like, that'd be
Yeah.
my wife who
Yeah.
would
Totally.
just use browsers.
and like
Mhm.
email and internet
Yeah.
and that kind of
like
stuff.
just grandma.
for
Totally.
for an actual like producer, I would say a MacBook Pro is entry level.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Right.
you want to go on the Mac side,
Yeah.
for sure.
We should
And nothing
point-
under that, because I mean,
Yeah.
like a regular MacBook doesn't have the space, doesn't have the RAM for it,
Mhm.
and if you're gonna spend X amount of money in putting those extra parts in, if they can, you may as well just pay for the entry level MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But this is a question that comes up a lot on like things like Reddit. There's
Yes.
the Ableton subreddit and the like music producer subreddit. And people
Yes.
are always asking, "Hey, is this MacBook base model good enough, or is this MacBook Air good enough?"
Yes.
And then you see the discussion of that, and it's exactly like Crystal said. It's just the base models don't have enough storage or RAM or any of that for higher end productions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Or the ports that you want to plug in your keyboard, your audio interface, your
unless
microphone.
you want to find one of those unibody 2012 non-Retina display MacBooks.
exactly what I have.
Yeah, exactly what Gabe has. You
Yeah.
can actually update like the RAM in that yourself, or
Yeah.
like put a hard
The
drive in or something.
Yeah.
But the Retina displays, everything is soldered onto the logic board, and so you can't really upgrade it yourself. When you're buying your Mac fresh, like out of the box, you gotta actually get it modified before you receive it through shipping or whatever when you buy it.
And that's the same thing with an iMac or this iMac Pro
Well,
Yeah.
the 27-inch with the iMac, you can actually upgrade the RAM yourself.
in a
Oh, really?
27-inch.
27-inch, yeah, because I have the
Oh.
27-inch.
Yeah.
And you can actually add more RAM to it. The 21-inch, 21.5-inch, you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the bigger ones you
Oh,
can.
Yes.
interesting.
So with this iMac Pro,
I don't know, maybe it'll be the same, maybe not.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Well, you can load 128 in it.
Well,
It
yeah,
doesn't-
I just don't know if you
yeah.
can do it manually. Like, I don't know if they allow
Yeah,
that.
that's true. I think there's a panel on the back that makes it sort of easy.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm
the
thinking
20s.
of these ones here.
These
Those
ones
ones
you
don't.
can't.
Those are the 21.5.
Right.
The 27-inch you can.
But that leads us. Well, that's a classic Steve Jobs move. We'll get to that later.
what? No, now you've piqued my curiosity. What's a classic Steve Jobs move?
Not giving decisions to the customer,
Yeah.
or not giving options, or not giving them, options, or places to go with it.
Yeah.
To
Right.
choose their own adventure. No,
Yeah.
this is the
Okay.
adventure you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's a great adventure. We wrote it. You need to go on it.
Which is the classic debate between Mac people and PC people, right? It's I want to be able to do stuff. I
Right.
want to be able to change everything if I want to, software and hardware wise.
However, a lot of modern Windows PC laptops are going that same Mac route when it comes to ports or when it comes to upgradability. Almost none of these super thin Ultrabooks that are coming out
Yeah.
are upgradable. You
Yes.
you have to spec them out to what you want, and that's it.
But
So-
there are lots of options where you can.
There are a
right?
lot
you
of
can,
options.
You can
yeah.
get
and price points are so much different. Yeah.
You can buy a Chromebook for a couple $100 up to a $4,000 Microsoft
Surface Book.
Pro, Surface Book Pro, right? It's
Yeah.
the same thing
Yeah.
with the hinge. Oh, I love the hinge.
Yes.
It's so nice, the bendy
Yeah, I love
hinge.
that.
It's so nice.
It's beefy too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It is.
Microsoft
feel it?
Book. I've never touched one.
Oh,
yeah.
Ging has one, and it's like super beefy to turn it and to. It feels solid.
Solid.
Like,
Yeah.
It's too bad it's got to run Windows. Though.
So I brought up the ports and things because even with this iMac Pro, you get 3 Thunderbolt ports, I believe. But I know for DJs with the laptops, it's becoming an issue. You're like, you have one port, which is your power port. You got to plug in a Serato box if you're playing with Serato, right? For a laptop DJ, it's can be really annoying, and there's people discussing whether they're going to switch over to Macs to PCs, based specifically on the inability to
Well, first,
connect your stuff.
I wouldn't go with a base model Mac to DJ.
Mhm.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, there are workarounds. Like, yeah, you can get the dongles and things like that, and it is a pain. But actually, if you look at DJ Tech Tools, I know, DJ Tech Tools, they actually came up with an actual dedicated USB-C cable, USB, like the regular USB to USB-C, and they sell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't need a dongle, but for the port thing,
Still need a hub.
still need a hub.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough ports, so yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that solves like kind of one issue if you're really looking for
Yeah.
that cable.
But this the issue with the ports has been an issue since 2012 or even before, when like my MacBook from 2012 only has 2 USB ports. So if I went to plug in my audio interface and a keyboard and my Ableton push, I already need a hub.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have a hub. It works great.
been a long time
Yeah.
with this issue.
And so this has been an issue, but there's obviously something, and I don't get it. But there's obviously something about using a Mac that makes people overlook these issues
Oh.
and stick with them
Yeah.
and stick it out.
It's aesthetic.
Can you guys explain what that is to me? Because I don't get it.
Well, Dan, it's like when you sit at Starbucks, you can lay down your MacBook
Yep.
and you get that nice, really smooth surface. You like
That's
lift
so
it,
hot.
You lift it. Well, no,
Burns
you,
your lap.
But you can lift it with one finger, and
Okay.
yeah, it's really satisfying.
Like,
You can't lift a PC with.
No.
No.
So most PCs,
They get
laptops,
stuck, kind of.
yeah, they kind of get stuck, and you gotta wiggle it.
Yeah.
I need 3 hands to open my laptop.
And there you go.
Not only that though, like a MacBook is super light too, right? Compared to a PC. I mean,
Yep.
your PC is really
Beefy.
heavy.
It's beefy.
Compared to a MacBook, it's
Wow.
like MacBook's like a feather
Can
compared
that,
to
be the,
yours.
can that be the title of this episode?
It's beefy.
It's beefy.
Yeah.
Beefy.
Or oh no, Mac PC beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
beef.
I would say, Dan, this is a classic old argument. It's like driving a BMW versus driving a Ford Taurus. They both get you there. One's a better experience. One is
Average.
average. And I'm talking from the OS perspective, because I feel like the hardware argument, that's a whole nother discussion.
It is,
Hardware.
Yeah.
And Mac has always been below piece, like always been like
It's behind on specs.
Yeah.
on specs for the most part. When you actually compare, and pardon the pun, apples to apples, it's fairly close.
Yeah.
However, it's back before Intel days. They were different processors and different. You couldn't compare apples to apples.
Right.
What were they? What was the
It was like
people
PPC, Power PC.
Power PC?
Power
Yeah,
PC,
yeah.
Power PC.
Something like that. And they were dope. Like I had
Yeah.
like some of the best computers. But anyway, it's more the OS workflow, the experience, and it's I say it's because of the lockdown proprietary nature that these designers are saying this is how you're going to experience using a computer. We feel this is the best from a user interface perspective, from a user experience perspective. We feel this is the best way to do X and Y. So they've made some decisions and locked it down so you couldn't choose that, because they didn't want you messing
Yeah.
around, changing
Making
things,
things
and wrecking,
awesome.
and wrecking
Yeah.
things.
Oh.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the downside. Is if you were smart like you can make it awesome if
Yeah.
you wanted to. But most people aren't smart like you, Dan. They'll wreck it and break it, and they didn't want the flexibility of you bringing in this crappy other third-party peripheral
Yes.
and wrecking the whole thing.
Yeah.
And wrecking the flow of it. So it's like saying, no, we're locking this down.
Yeah.
I talked to you guys earlier about that movie I saw. That was the biggest argument Wozniak and Steve Jobs had.
Can you elaborate what the movie was?
It was the Jobs movie. I don't know if it was Steve Jobs or Jobs. It's
I
on
think it's
Netflix.
just Steve Jobs.
Is this called Steve Jobs?
Yeah, it's the feature film, not like the documentary. It's the actual feature film.
Yeah, it was a feature film that had Jeff Daniels, everyone with Kate Hudson? No, Winslet.
Kate Winslet, yeah.
Kate Winslet was like, she was awesome.
Is she Steve
was-
Jobs?
No,
No,
she
that'd
was,
be amazing.
She was his marketing guy.
she's
girl.
her right hand. She was his right hand person, like super. She was
Yeah.
awesome in it, and a really good actor in it. She's a good actress. Anyway, the big fight was between him and Woz wanted it to be open. No, people want ports. People want options. People want more and more. It was Dan.
Yeah.
People want all these things. He's like, no, people don't know what they want.
Woz is a nerd. He's like, yeah.
and he was super smart. He without him, there's no Apple.
Yeah.
But Steve was on another level, and there's a different. And Steve's like, no, they didn't. He didn't. No one asked. Michelangelo didn't ask people what should go on the ceiling, and like, what's his name? Folk singer Bob Dylan didn't go, what should my lyrics be?
Right.
He went and wrote, this is what I'm doing because I'm an artist. And Steve Jobs' arrogance, he said, this is the way. And he's pretty smart, so he got some things right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the essence of a Mac, is saying, no, we are going to tell you guys how you should experience this. And for the most part, they do get it right. Like, look at the iPhone. And some of this, it is such a really nice interface. Look at the Mac OS in terms of how it developed over the years. So anyway, all that saying, yes, there's negatives to that. But I'll take the pros over the negatives, because
You'll buy a USB hub
USB-C hub.
so you get all of this other stuff.
to get to work in Mac OS, because at 99.9% of the time it always works. I never have to troubleshoot. I never have to go into regedit. I never have to edit a DLL. I don't have to go in and find this thing to update this and have all these warnings. It just works, and I can just do my stuff and deliver my project.
Yeah.
That's what I miss the most about using a MacBook. Just like the user
Experience.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. This could be a whole other topic.
Well, I think it's this kind of topic. But
Well, I mean, like, because I just converted for my, like, on-the-road laptop or whatever. I did convert from a MacBook Pro to a Windows laptop, and just how everything was running in my Windows laptop, it was slower. Like, I didn't buy, like, a really like crappy model or anything. It was kind of like a mid-range. And it's just, compared to my MacBook Pro, everything just took time to open. It just the user friendliness was just not there for me, and
Okay.
I'm still adjusting. But
And why did you switch?
well, it's price. It was price. Not gonna lie. I have an iMac at home, which is cool. But the Windows laptop was for price. It was a lot cheaper. It was about half of what I would have paid
Okay.
for a new MacBook Pro. So
For the same kind of specs.
for the same kind of specs, which brought me to the wondered why is this still lagging a little bit if it's the same specs as a MacBook Pro, but MacBook Pro is
We can
running
fix
a lot faster.
that. Don't worry.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you. You're the
Yeah.
PC guy, so.
Huh.
But yeah, that's just like where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm with Mitch on this for sure. It's like the software, the
That too.
ecosystem.
That's
Yeah.
a big one.
The ecosystem
Yes.
has it. That was what sold me, because I bought an iPad Mini like a million years ago, and when they first came out, essentially, the iPad Mini, loved it, got the apps. I was hooked on that, and then I was like, okay, well, for my next phone, I'm gonna get an iPhone. So now all the apps that I bought on my iPad, I can
Yes.
transfer on my iPhone. And then for the next computer I'll get, now I'll just get a MacBook, and now they can all talk to each other, and I can use iMessage and all this, and AirDrop.
That's what I miss too. Like everything just syncing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can type in a note on my phone, but
It
then
shows up on
it
your
just
Mac.
shows up on my Mac, and
Yeah.
it's just, everything is just
Calendars
so
all
easy.
synced up too.
And you can do this in Windows. You can get Google Calendar downloaded. You can get all these things downloaded, and they will all sync as well. But you buy a MacBook, you have an iPhone, just works.
works.
They were always thinking
So-
about the user and how they use the computer. They
Yeah.
weren't like thinking, "Hey, let's make something that does something." They're going, "How is someone going to use this?"
Yeah.
And you rewind to the invention of the Macintosh, the original one with the mouse. like up to then there was no mouse.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
with a big button, and how it was like the graphical user interface and all that stuff. So that's in the DNA of Apple, of the end user and how they actually function and use stuff. Do they get it right all the time? No. But a lot of times
Right.
they do.
I draw a comparison to Nintendo actually.
Oh yeah.
I watched a short little film about when Nintendo launched the NES in North America, and they went through one version of it and tried to get people into it. And this was after the video game crash in 1983, right? And Atari was kind of like, anybody could make a game for Atari, right? And there were so many bad games, there was so much software that it caused the crash. There was just so much junk. People felt
E.T.
E.T. Yeah.
totally. This is we're getting ripped off, right? It's how people felt. And then Nintendo came in, they locked everything down to make a game for Nintendo. It was super strict, like you had to follow all these rules, and it was like, you get this.
Yeah.
You're gonna get this, and this is and they still do that, right? I
Yeah.
always think there's a lot of
Totally.
comparison between Apple and Nintendo.
And Nintendo's hardware is always behind, right?
It's always behind.
They never were the fanciest, most glitzy, whatever. But
Yeah.
you bought it because you wanted that Mario game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that Mario game, which was a version of Mario, was still 10 times better than
Anything
Madden 2900, 1990, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a good comparison, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so
Yeah.
I get it. I get the Mac thing more
Oh,
than
yeah.
I like to let on, but it's just so stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun for you to pick on.
No, well,
So wait, I have a question
Yes,
for Dan.
please.
Okay, because you're a big PC guy.
Yes.
So,
The biggest.
How much time do you find you've spent over the years sort of fine tuning things? and
millions of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ask him how many times he helps other people. find
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Lots of times.
Myself
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I remember on Windows. Because one thing I don't think I mentioned earlier is that I come from a PC background.
Yes.
Like, I grew up with PC up until I was like 21 or something.
Yeah.
Then I finally made a switch to Mac, and it was just I never looked back. But I remember spending a lot of time tweaking, making this, changing the settings, trying it again, restarting my computer, installing some weird software.
Yeah.
It never ended. So
And see, and I've had this discussion with Mitch numerous times. I know it sounds weird, but that's part of what I like. It's like,
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's
It's
a genuine good feeling and feeling of
Right.
satisfaction around
Yeah.
that.
problem solving.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
had to go to summer school one year when I was a kid because didn't go to class, and I had math, and I got a certificate for problem solving in my summer school math class, and that always has stuck in my head. And I think that's a reason why I like PCs, because there's problems are always coming up.
yeah.
There's always something that's weird, and I'm like, I gotta fix this now.
Yeah.
It makes me think about another comparison is cars. You brought this up earlier. It's like people who like old cars from the 70s and 80s or 60s, and they want to. There's mechanics. You can take your car to the Apple guy, right, of cars, and he'll fix it. But some people like
Doing it themselves.
doing the
Yeah.
troubleshooting, going
Yeah.
under the hood, finding what's wrong, fixing it all up. Where I think as far as cars go, for any of us, we're like,
No.
fix this thing,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to computers, I've always just
Yeah.
liked that.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that kind of brings me to where I'd like to go next is our histories. Our histories with this, how we've gotten to this place in our computer lives. Obviously, computers are such a huge part of, like, with our phones, with our computers, with everything. How many hours of the day are you looking at a screen? Are you connected to the internet? Are you working with software? Like, imagine, when you go camping in the summer, you have to turn a part of your brain off, right?
I
It's just
retired from
like-
camping.
You retired from camping?
We don't camp anymore.
Because
I
you
like-
can't, no internet.
I
Right.
like-
Right.
Until there's Wi-Fi's in every campground in
Yeah.
North America,
Yeah.
I'm out.
You're out.
We've kind of been corrupted that way, I think.
No,
With,
there's other reasons.
Well, no, I know, yeah, work, all that stuff, but like the whole, like, this is a whole other thing, whole other can of worms, like with the social media, technology, internet.
Yes.
I think all of us have to be connected somehow to keep our lives going, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, we could have a deep metaphysical debate about
That-
our connectivity,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
For-
Yeah.
A whole other can
That's
of
a-
worms.
But let's stick to why we
Well, I'm the
love
oldest.
Macs.
Do you want me to? So I've probably had experience with computers that you guys probably never heard of.
Yeah,
Maybe.
let's start with you because you're old.
Or sorry, is that where you wanted to go?
Yeah, no, totally.
Oh,
yeah, I was
okay.
gonna start with Gabe, but
Okay.
we can start with you.
Sorry, it's taking over. Here.
That's
okay.
all good.
The first computer that came into our house was a Commodore 64.
Nice.
And it
I don't even know what that is.
was then replaced, I don't know why, but by a VIC-20. And I think they were
Yeah.
the same thing, or very close to. And there was a tape deck. There was tapes you'd actually, a cassette tape.
They're both gaming computers,
You
generally.
put in there, and the games sucked, but I learned how to program, like how to make my name show up on the screen and
Yeah.
then repeat.
Yes.
And then I figured out how to make it colored.
Yes.
And I learned how to program in BASIC, and that was what boom. I was like, oh my goodness.
I like computers.
So my dad was the one that brought that around all the time, and we were into music, and he played saxophone and sang, and music was always in our house, so computers and music were just a thing. And then we got an Apple IIc. It was the one where it was like the portable computer, had a handle on the back, and it was white, and it was interesting watching that movie because they're having a fight about the Apple II, and Steve Jobs really had nothing to do with the Apple II. It was a Wozniak thing. And when he was doing the Macintosh, he wanted to squash the Apple II and put all of Apple's money into Macintosh. And Woz is like, Apple II is what got us here. This is what's paying the bills. So anyway, I had an Apple IIc, which was a derivative of the Apple II, and having Apple IIs in school. And so I was kind of Mac. And then when the big PC boom of like Windows 95, whatever, like... Did it come out in 94 though? Like, was it early? I can't remember. But anyway, when Windows 95 hit, that changed the world.
Yeah.
And that was like incredible.
It came out in 95.
It did it? It did it? Well, yeah, okay. And then the Pentium 2 386, like the 386 came out, and we went to the local PC guy in town, and we bought a Pentium 386 for seriously $4,000 some dollars.
Wow.
And so then we were on the PC train, Windows 95 all the way. And
Yeah.
that's and then the rest is history from there. And then
Well,
when
it's obviously not because you are
sorry,
a
it
Mac
was,
guy.
yeah, and then I guess when I started getting back into music more officially in my early 20s, I reverted back to a Mac, and I don't remember how or why.
Did you have it was I think the first iMac, the colored.
Yeah, I never had that.
No?
The translucent one.
Yeah.
No, I never had that. But my uncle, this was interesting. I always remember Macs in schools, and so my uncle was a teacher, and he had a Macintosh, the original Macintosh Plus. And it had this one game, you're this little circle, and you have to go around and get all these diamonds, and you clear the screen, and you go to this harder one, and that game was
Let's
just
keep going.
it was like changed my life. And anyway, then I got into Macs and blah blah blah.
Wow.
And that was when you got into composing. Was when you
Yeah, well,
bought
just
a
into
Mac.
writing music, making music,
Yeah.
and I was using Acid Pro, no, it wasn't Pro, Acid, another Pro. I wasn't, and it wasn't Acid Pro at the time. It was just called Acid.
Right.
It wasn't owned by Sony yet.
And you don't remember which computer brought you back into the Apple sphere? Did you have a tower? Did you have a G4?
Yeah, I had a G4. Yes,
It was a G4.
Yeah, jeez, Dan, it's pretty
Yeah.
good for
PC guy.
Yeah.
not knowing anything about the Mac.
I remember. I have a really good memery.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, G4 that's when I got back in the tower.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of.
I could keep going, but that's old
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
That's old.
That's what brought you here, and basically since G4 you've been buying, upgrading,
Totally.
And what are you running right now?
I have an iMac.
Yeah.
It's not the Pro. It's just a souped up iMac that's kind of tiding me over till the Mac Pro.
And I remember you debated buying the garbage can.
Yes, I did. And then I looked at I could soup up the iMac at the time and get it
Close.
really close and get a nice screen. Mm-hmm. And for just to tide me over, so
Yeah.
it was good. But I am gonna be adding a PC server to my current rig that will load all of my sample libraries, and it uses a third-party software called Vienna Ensemble Pro that connects via Ethernet to my iMac. So all my contacts are on the PC,
Yeah.
loaded up, always ready to go. And then on my iMac, I can just load up queues and load up projects and reference the server's ready to go. It's like got
Wow.
everything loaded.
Well, that's a little. I'm just going to go a little off topic for a second. Is that cloud? Is it cloud computing or is it just
No,
it's server?
It's server based, so everything's natively in the computer.
And like that's the thing, obviously, that a PC is going to do a lot better than Mac. Mac servers,
They're very
Yes.
cloud.
It's
kind of a
cloud-based,
nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah.
PCs rule that world.
Yeah.
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 But that doesn't affect it can work together.
Yeah.
Harmoniously. And
Yep.
Interesting.
Every major composer, anyone doing TV and film and some big projects, that's how they roll. And that's how they rolled for a long time, back into the Giga Studio days when they'd have multiple PCs running Giga Studio.
Yeah.
And they might have like an Atari as their main thing or a Mac as
An
their
Atari
Oh.
ST.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you look at Vangelis's setup back in the day.
Yeah.
And those cats, those were next level. Yeah,
Wow.
sorry. Sidetracking.
I love
Interesting.
it. Real nerd stuff.
Wow.
So Gabe, what is your history in the world of computers?
Computers. I love them.
Yours is a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because I don't know.
That
Like,
should be the name of the episode.
Computers. I love 'em.
That's the episode right there.
so.
Computers and beef.
Love them.
Love them. Well, so I was born and raised in Venezuela,
Yeah.
and PCs are just everywhere there. When I was growing up, like, I didn't know anyone with a Mac.
Were they gaming PCs like Amigas and stuff that are like popular in Europe?
I don't know. It was like, IBM and like just really basic brands. I don't remember much about that, but so yeah, I grew up with PCs. Spent a lot of time doodling in MS Paint because I was like, this is fun, and I don't know. That's kind of what maybe like my moment when I was like maybe 5 years old. I was like doodling in MS Paint, and I'm like, wow, I can make stuff on here. Like,
I like computers.
Yeah. Still.
yeah. And I don't know, over the years, I got my own computer. When I got my first job, got a laptop, PC. Then, I don't know, upgraded to another laptop. I was always PC. I was always like, this is what I know. I don't know why I would ever go Mac. It's so expensive, this and that. And when I went to university, that's when I don't know, I really crossed paths with Mac a lot. Everyone on campus is always using Mac. The labs, the computer labs, a lot of them use Mac there. I ended up working at a computer lab with Macs, and that's when I kind of fell in love with them because I worked with them like every day, like for hours, and I wasn't doing any creative work, but I was just getting the feel of like the ecosystem, and like my boss liked to use iMessage and this and the calendar, and everything was syncing so nicely. I was like, oh, like I like this, like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's all built in. We didn't have to do anything. We just turn on the computer and it works. And
It just works. That's
yeah. I was so impressed. So the next time I had an opportunity to buy a computer, I was like, I'm gonna find a used MacBook and just take a chance, and it's what I did, and it's what I'm still running.
that same one.
Same 2012 MacBook, yeah. So, but yeah, it was just kind of like they won me over for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Commodore to a VIC to PCs to Apple. Venezuelan PCs
Yeah.
to Apples.
Yeah.
And Crystal, what has your journey been?
When I was younger, it was definitely PC. That's what I kind of grew up on. We had like one main home computer, and everyone had like the users and blah blah blah. So I kind of knew PCs well when I was younger, and throughout college. I went to SAIT, and all they really they gave us laptops to rent, and all they distributed was Toshibas. And so I worked on that, and that was cool. I never had owned a Mac at that point. I was like 19, 20. And then I just had a friend same guy introduced me to Ableton, actually. And he was just like, yeah, like, this is Ableton, and I have this MacBook. And I was like, whoa.
What version of Ableton was it?
Oh, it was like 5 or 4
Really?
or something.
Yeah.
It was so old. And
One of the dark years of it.
yeah, yeah. But like what you can do with it, I was like so amazed, and just working with the laptop and just trying it out, it's just like what Gabe said, it just worked.
Yeah.
There was no waiting for things to load, and he didn't turn it on and it would say Windows updating. please leave plugged in or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just worked. And so I kind of planted the seed to my family that I kind of wanted a MacBook for my birthday, and they delivered. From then on, like, I caught on to GarageBand because it came with the computer, and
Oh, yeah.
started making music with that because I was playing guitar prior and combining the two, electronic beats and guitar, and I kept upgrading my Mac since and going forward. And then I actually worked at Apple recently, and I just fell in love. Like, it was just, I had an iPhone, everything just worked. Like, it just,
The Kool-Aid.
I love
You know
it.
what? I find it so
No, it's the
fascinating.
apple juice.
Apple juice.
Apple
I find it
juice.
so fascinating with apple juice when people are like, I just fell in love.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No, you
It's
know what
that-
though?
like it's an
people-
OS, calm down.
It's not, Dan. It's not. It's more than that.
No, but it's like
It's the thing is, it's not the
fell in
apple
love.
juice though. Like, it's just like just how everything works and their culture,
It's-
and it's just like
Okay.
it's
a
more
whole
It's a
than
thing.
I
It's
know.
a totally
I
thing.
understand it's a thing. But so all of you guys have repeatedly said it just works. It just works.
It does.
It just works. But all three of you currently are also running a PC for stuff because your Mac just doesn't work for that. So
well,
I find
price.
this interesting, right?
price,
Yes,
price point,
yeah.
price
For
point.
you, it's a price point for your
It's a price
laptop.
point.
You're using it specifically to run Rekordbox.
That's it.
To get ready for gigs.
That's it. Yeah.
So you don't need a MacBook. To me, it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's you could have got
If I
something
had-
cheaper and smaller.
I
even.
could, yeah. If I had the money, I would probably go get a MacBook, but
Yeah.
I didn't at the time. So
That's a really expensive record box.
exactly.
box.
I have an iMac at home that does all. That's like the brain of my music production. So I don't need another MacBook right now, anyway.
right.
So yeah.
Gabe, why are you running a PC?
I
Because
got
it just works. For what?
it just works, and I fell in love. Well, actually, so I got more into video production stuff
Yep.
and like trying to do YouTube stuff, and I got a camera that shoots in 4K now.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I got all these things that I can work with, but my Mac does not handle 4K video very well. It doesn't handle even running Adobe Premiere very well. So
So it just works until it doesn't
Until-
work at all.
wait,
Well,
it
because of the
depends what you're
specs.
doing. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
because
yeah.
of the specs.
So,
that's
because
why
like I have a great time in Ableton
Mhm.
making my singer-songwriter pop music,
Mhm.
but when it comes to Adobe Premiere, it's quite a struggle. So
Okay.
I could have probably
You could upgrade your Mac and do
Yeah.
do what you need
Yeah.
to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I could have upgraded and just got a new Mac or whatever. But I was really curious to try this new AMD Ryzen system.
Mhm.
So this is like a new CPU thing that came out recently, and the price is just unbelievable for what
Yeah.
you get. So
And gamers specifically have been freaking out about how good it is for the price.
yeah, totally, yeah. Like if you're a gamer, it makes sense. Like why would not? And so what I ended up getting was like I kind of went all out, but it wasn't really very expensive. So I
Mhm.
got a 16 core CPU and 32 gigs of RAM, solid state drives, all the bells and whistles, and it's great. It just runs so smooth. I can do video editing in 4K, and it's
And it's also upgradable and
yeah. So and it's all
Yeah.
custom. So got dedicated graphics card and all that. So Yeah.
again for you, I guess the big difference was price.
so it was price and like flexibility, and I was curious to try Ryzen because I
Okay.
was like, I don't know, 16 cores. Like at the time when I was thinking about buying Ryzen, Mac didn't even have a 16 core, like CPU available.
Mhm.
So I was like, well,
I've never seen
Yeah.
so much excitement on YouTube about a CPU
yeah,
as people got
Yeah.
about when this Ryzen processor came out.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
why is my whole YouTube feed full of guys
Yeah.
with this Ryzen box? Like, you gotta buy one of these.
yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Because they mine bitcoins and they needed the.
Oh yeah.
No, you need graphics cards
Oh, right,
for
that's
that. Yeah,
graphics.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
different thing.
But yeah, so I don't know, a little bit of both. Price was definitely a big factor.
So, Crystal, you're running your PC for Rekordbox.
Yeah.
You're running yours for Premiere and for gaming.
Yeah, love gaming.
And Mitch, you also have a PC at this point.
Yes.
Yes.
Like at Beat Drop here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it for editing video,
Mhm.
and I think it came down to price, and Windows 10 was actually a really big reason too. Once I started messing with Windows 10, and I realized, okay, this feels kind of normal. Like it took me back to Windows 95, or it felt like So that was a really big thing. But I think overall this, and I don't want to wreck our fun conversation of being passionate about our platforms or whatever, and I love arguing about that, but as I get older, we're arguing about a hammer. We're arguing,
Yeah.
or we're trying to take sides over whose hammer's better.
Totally.
And it's fun, and I love doing it because it's a fun conversation. And there's merits on why my leather grip is better than your rubber grip.
I got
you know?
RGB lights, so
Right. And ultimately it's the right tool for the right job. That's as I get older, that's the question. So
Yeah.
you want to be a gamer?
PC for
PCs.
sure.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You want to edit video?
Mac.
I could argue both.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
Depending on your budget as well.
And depending
right?
on your
Yeah.
budget and depending on what type of video and stuff you're doing, and because Adobe now, ultimately, it does, and the whole OS argument is kind of moot because Adobe runs on both.
Yeah.
Ableton runs on both.
Yeah.
Like the things that you're using can run on both. So I could be fine with if I was editing video on a PC because I'm just running Adobe. It's the same on a Mac
Yeah.
as it is there.
You have to
That-
switch a couple command keys and like
Yeah.
that.
it's no big deal. And Windows 10 is so awesome.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
totally be down with that. And you can have a kick butt PC tower that's so to me it really depends on what you're doing. If you're running a server for an organization, there's no way you want to run. We've tried it, and like you don't want to run Mac. That's not their focus. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
And there's certain tools that times. Right, there's certain jobs that can do both, and other jobs that are more specific Mac or PC. So yes, we have a PC here, and like I said, the server that we're speccing out for my studio is a PC.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's a really interesting, and it makes sense. It's a good argument, and it's not an argument. It's an argument against arguing, basically.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to
No,
shut down our whole podcast, but
yeah.
No, but
I-
it makes sense. Like,
I always tell this to people too because I came from PC land.
Yeah.
So when I was talking to people about Ableton, and I had certain friends that were very influential to me getting a Mac eventually. But when I was using PC, to me it was like, bro, once I'm in Ableton, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So
I
That's-
I very rarely use a Mac, but I do for Ableton if I'm collaborating with somebody or things, and I
Yeah.
can sit down and
You know
yeah.
what to do.
Once you're in
Go.
Ableton, it's all the same.
Yeah.
So
when
yeah.
I worked at Apple, one of the questions that we often asked, because it's not about selling the highest spec, so MacBook Pro or iMac or whatever. The main question was, what are you going to use it for?
yeah.
Because some kids will come in and get like the crazy souped up Mac
Totally.
Pro or something, and really they're entry level music producers.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need that. So yeah, it comes down to what are you going to use it for, and for your price range, and if you're a beginner, then stick to entry level.
So that's a good point about how most of the software programs that we're using are cross-platform at this point. But
there are
There's-
exceptions.
there are exceptions,
Yeah.
right? Which leads a lot of people to using one or the other. For example, Mitch, you use Logic for your studio work,
Logic
for your
Pro?
composition. Sounds beefy. So, and you use, we teach Ableton here at Beat Drop, and you are very adept at Ableton, but you use Logic in your studio space for composition. Is there a reason that you do that? Was it just did you use Logic before Ableton?
That's a good question. No, I actually used Ableton when version 2 back in the day when
Okay.
we were live looping on stage and stuff like that. But Logic is where I went. I started with Cubase actually,
Yeah.
and then went to Logic. So they were kind of tandem. I like both. To me, they're the tool argument, right?
Yeah.
They're depending on what I'm creating.
Yeah.
Right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
And I will use Ableton and Logic
Back and forth,
back and forth depending on the type of cue I'm doing or depending on the project. For most of the movie that recently I just did was mostly in Logic.
Do you Jeremy? What's the linking software? We were talking about it that you use.
Rewire?
Rewire. Do
Yeah.
you use Rewire to link your Ableton and your Logic?
I have not for a long time,
Okay.
but it is a thing that is a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would use I'd rewire Reason into Logic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. They're just so robust. There's not a reason to do that anymore. I like being in Ableton for Ableton. and then I'm not requiring a lot, or vice versa. I like Logic for Logic, and I'm not needing Ableton stuff to come in very rarely. There might be, but I don't.
And then on the opposite side, there is FL Studio, which a lot
Right.
of producers use, a lot of hip hop producers, which is PC only.
Yeah.
I think they have a Mac version out now.
It's
Beta.
it's a beta. Yeah.
It's a beta for like 5 years, but
Yeah.
I think it's coming out.
Considering FL's like the original
Fruity Loops.
Fruity Loops came out in 1997 or something. To me, it's amazing that it's been out for so long.
Yeah.
Without a Mac version, right? And that it's
Yeah.
it's
I think they were very adamant about not having a Mac version for a long time, though.
do you know why?
I don't know. It might have had to do something with the coding, like the
Yeah.
the back end. They've just been,
They're a
built
small
on.
team. I think they're a super
Yeah.
small team, like 1 or 2 dudes,
Yeah.
or
So-
people just coding it. And I still think it's a really small team.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not super up on
So,
it.
but yeah, they've changed their minds since.
I'm curious about is there any plugins, any software programs that you're using that, because everybody's using PC and Mac now, all three of you, except for me, because I would never do that. But is there any software programs or things where you're like, oh, I would just wish I could be running this on my Mac, or oh, I just wish that I could have this thing on my PC? Is that even that much? Those are two obvious ones for us to bring up, just because we make music. It's we know about these two software programs that are platform specific. But is there anything else off the top of your head where you're like,
No, I think that if I did have a problem or like I knew something wasn't going to be compatible, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have gone with the PC. So
Yeah.
I made sure that everything was going to work
Yeah.
in
Right.
the event where I needed to use my PC for like Ableton or something.
and you're not running Ableton on your PC?
I do
at
have
all?
it. I have it on
Yeah.
there just in case.
Yeah.
And I have my VSTs on there, and they work fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. But
If you need help getting DLLs in the right place, I'll
Red Jet.
Yeah. I kind of miss, though, like, because I still mainly produce on my MacBook. I kind of miss the free VST things that you can get online, but a lot of
For
them
PC.
are for PC.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of little cool, little cute synths and like drum machine sampler things. And
There's
like,
a lot of free
freebies.
stuff, yeah, that are
yeah.
there is a
PC
lot of
only.
that's
And
another
it was
thing.
just cool. It was like, oh, I'm gonna download this today and just.
And get a virus and shut my whole computer down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
that's
Yeah.
that's another can of worms.
We didn't even bring up viruses.
I forgot about that.
I was going to. I didn't want to like because that has always been a big argument.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
Macs over PCs is that PCs.
Some more susceptible.
I haven't got a
Yeah.
virus since I was like 14 because play safe, kids. But it's becoming more common, and it's something that Apple has kind of hid away from, right? That you
Yeah.
can get viruses for
Oh, yeah.
your Mac now.
Oh yeah.
You can, yeah.
It's not as safe as it used to be. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's the coding, if it's
Just don't visit dirty sites.
With the
Don't
processors.
visit Russian sites. You know.
Well, like I think the.
Apologize to the Russians.
yeah.
No, I don't apologize. But I'm just saying, like, don't visit sites where you don't understand the writing. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know.
I think
I'm just saying.
It comes down to who's disseminating this virus
Yeah.
and what is it coded in, because when a virus is automatically downloaded and launched, it needs to be coded for that platform. So there may be times when something is it's trying to launch on your Mac, but it's like doesn't know what to do. It's like it's Mac.
And for a long time, and even still, the majority of computers in the world are PCs.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
making a virus for Macs doesn't make a lot of sense if you're trying to do something bad.
So a lot of businesses have like financial institutions. They run off PC. So if you're gonna make a virus, obviously,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, we'll do
Yeah.
the next podcast, how to make viruses, and
But you know when that changed?
Hack
It's
the
when-
system.
It's when everyone started buying iPods and then iPhones. Because then the world,
Oh, yeah.
then the world started being more Macified, and they're like, oh, if I'm gonna create a virus, I'm gonna do it to the thing that has a
It's
lot
mostly
of.
been iPhones and
Yeah.
if anything on the Apple lines.
It's still like asking someone if they've seen a narwhal or a narwhal or narwhal.
What the?
a what?
The horn?
Or the
They're
horn.
a real thing, right?
Yeah, they
Yes,
exist.
they are.
Yeah,
But has
they
anyone
exist.
seen one? That's the same with Mac viruses.
No.
Maybe.
gotta, like-
I've never seen.
I had to you never believe me, but I had to remove some here.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think
You're like,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just
I don't know.
did it.
Yeah.
I just ran malware bytes. I just removed it. You're like, nope.
Yeah. Usually the ones from Mac are the ones that pretty much shut the whole thing down. Like they're
Yeah.
ruthless.
Yeah.
It's like
Really?
a virus.
All
on
right,
PC.
my head's in the sand. I just
I'm gonna pop in. So like a virus on a PC is normally like, all right, oh yeah, bring it in. There you go. Where am I? Here you go. All right, so a virus on a PC is normally like, okay, you get a couple browser problems or whatever, but a Mac one is
They
just
just
like,
they shut everything down.
it bricks the phone or it
Yeah.
bricks the whole computer.
Oh, yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
like probably just buy a new computer.
Yeah.
So what's the point of the virus then? Is it just trying to shut down phones? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Usually they're just trying to spread through your contacts
Oh,
and then go.
Yeah, it's not trying to take anything. It's just literally just trying to break the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
it's-
the
it's
viruses are few and far in between, but
Yeah.
they're like more malicious
Yeah.
for the Macs than they are the PCs.
Right.
That
So
makes
it's those
sense.
Mac haters, you know?
Yeah,
That's-
I guess. I mean,
It's
yeah.
PC guys who are like, I don't
Or somebody's
like 'em.
trying to get a job really, really, really bad for Apple.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hire them.
Yeah. Okay, virus talk was really fun.
7 out of 10, yeah.
Let's go to you guys have touched on this a little bit, but I want to hear what you really love. Like, let's stick to one thing. Like, you all have fallen in love with OS X because
It's
it's
just so inspiring.
It's just OS now.
it's just OS
Yeah.
because it's
Right, Mac OS, yeah.
it's the Claudia Schiffer of OSs, I guess. But
Schiffer.
What kind of old references are?
I'm old.
Yeah, me too, but I'm like,
She's a model, in case you
She's
don't know.
pretty. She's a pretty lady.
I haven't
So-
heard that name.
I know.
Anyways,
We need to put the image of
Yeah, just
her up
ding.
on the Mr. Edit.
Crystal, tell me what you love about either your Mac or your PC now that you're using your
Italian now.
PC, or what do you love about it?
Wow.
Oh, I don't have a lot to say about the PC, to be honest.
Okay.
Just that it's cheaper. Money wise, it's cheaper. For Mac, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of biased. So, but what I like is just how fast everything opens. I can have like 10 windows open, and they all run perfectly
Yeah.
fine. If I do that on a Windows, something's happening. There's a circle going on with the cursor. And
We'll fix that, like I
it's-
said, but not yet.
But I don't know. It's just it's user friendly. It's user friendly. I'm used to it. I love, like what Gabe was saying, the ecosystem. I
It's an
really love it.
Overall vibe of everything.
Yeah, everything like just jives together properly.
Okay.
So
Gabe.
I have a really specific thing. Wait, I have two things.
Okay.
Love the ecosystem. It's still use it every day with my phone, my iPad, everything's in sync. But the number one thing that I think it's often overlooked is the drivers for audio processing on
yeah,
Mac.
yes.
They are so good.
Yes.
They're so overlooked, man. It's like, so if you're on PC and you don't have ASIO for all
ASIO
downloaded,
driver.
ASIO,
The
yeah.
being of
Yeah.
everyone's life.
So, and if you don't know what we're talking about is
not that bad.
when you're opening up Ableton or any DAW and you have kind of latency going on, it's so slow. You're like, what's going on? You download ASIO for all on that weird old website that hasn't been updated for generations. But
That guy updates all the time.
does he?
Yes.
Does he really?
It's one guy. Give him a break.
Okay.
He's saving
But-
PC world for the whole
okay.
everyone.
He is making the world a better
A
place.
much better place.
But, so
shout
yeah.
out to ASIO for all. We'll put a link to
Yeah.
ASIO for all the PC users.
Thank you. You
In there, that guy.
But if you
He's
need
doing the
need,
good work.
If you need a new website, let me know.
Yes.
Anyway, get that if you're on PC. If you're on Mac, don't worry about it because your audio drivers are so good already. It's like
That-
no latency. It's amazing.
That is a very nice thing.
Yeah.
You open up a new MacBook and you can just start making music. You don't have to worry about figuring anything out.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
tweak anything. It's
Yeah.
just it works. You
Again.
know?
And
It
what's
works.
your second thing?
Oh, I thought the ecosystem.
Oh, the ecosystem.
yeah.
Mitch,
Yes.
what is something you really love about your Mac?
I love everything they said ecosystem for sure, but I love the fact that you could buy a Mac piece of, like a Mac computer, hand it to somebody, that's all they need to get going with writing music. If this is about music production,
Yeah.
they don't need a sound card. They don't need any other drivers. That actually comes bundled with the software. We really talked about that. It comes bundled with GarageBand, which is a pretty decent little music production suite. And all they would need is headphones, and they're off to the races. Secondly, around music production, again, the USB driver situation, it usually just plug it in and it's just going.
Oh, yeah.
It's good to go. So
Yeah.
mostly compliant with any type of USB device that's out there. So they've always been on the forefront. The second or third one is the whole iOS development. They're on the forefront of audio production and creativity and innovation with how they've made the iPad a musical instrument, with how it integrates with the apps, how it integrates with the third-party apps and with other devices that are out there.
I have a Windows tablet. It's useless. I've used it twice.
Yeah.
I tried to find.
Yeah.
I got it as a gift, and yeah, it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah.
It's useless. I don't know what I would ever use the thing for. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I can do some music apps or something, and I searched the internet and
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing for it.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
for
useless.
mobile devices, iOS, the invention of that whole platform with iPads and iPad minis
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
phones is
Yeah.
It's very cool.
from
Yeah.
a music standpoint.
Yes.
Yeah, when we were playing with Core Gadget,
Core Gadget, my favorite.
that was so cool. I was like,
Yeah.
theoretically, I'm a kid. I have my mom's iPad. This is my DAW.
Yeah.
Until I get something else, I'm
Yeah.
gonna start doing everything.
Side note, I use Core Gadget. You can export Ableton project files from
Yeah,
that. And
right in
I do
Ableton,
it all
yeah.
the time. It's amazing.
You can do that from a
Yeah.
$200
iPod.
iPod Touch?
iPod Touch.
Yeah.
Geez.
Yes. Yeah,
my,
yeah.
my son has one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so for $200, you can use some pretty awesome apps and download some really cool Korg synths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole, we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah.
Like,
I
that's
have the
that's
Chaos
a whole.
what is it?
The
Chaos Pad.
Chaos Later?
Pad, yeah.
Chaos
I
Later?
downloaded the app for that, so I have that app on my phone. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
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 Okay, that sounds pretty whatever to me.
So,
All that stuff.
so Dan, what kind of Mac are you gonna buy next?
So just to appease me,
Next subject.
just to appease me, the last thing I want you guys to do to make me happy is tell me something that you really don't like about your Mac. Something that is very frustrating, that you dislike, that you just go, oh,
Hey, wait, no.
Oh, no?
You answer your own question about PC.
Ooh.
About what I love
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
PC?
Yeah.
I love that I can do anything that I want to it. I can, and if something's wrong inside, I open it up.
Yeah,
I look inside.
Just delete System 32.
I just delete System 32 and everything works. P.S. Don't
Don't
ever delete System 32.
I don't know what that is. Is
I
that
guess
another
don't
DLL?
do that.
It's basically the OS
Yeah.
driver. So when
Oh.
you delete that, it bricks your
Like,
it bricks your
basically,
system.
yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever do that, kids.
Do it.
And then get a MacBook so you can't do it.
Yeah, I like, and it's what I always liked. Like, I didn't talk about it really, but I started using Windows at 3.1 was the first
Whoa.
Oh
desktop
yeah,
we had.
totally. Yeah, I remember.
And my uncle was a computer nerd, and he came over, and I was the only one of me and my brothers who was into it, and I was like, let's show me everything. And I would just sit
Was
there.
that after DOS? That was after MS-DOS, right?
3.1 was the first.
Like-
3 was the very first that had like the
Windows.
Mac style
Yeah.
Windows kind of thing.
Interface, yeah.
And then 3.1 was the first like big one, and then 95 was the next one,
Right.
where people were
Lost.
ripping their hair out in the streets.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to talk about falling in love with an OS?
Yeah.
Like, that
Right.
was-
To me, that's
Yeah.
the
Those
only
were, yeah.
PC equivalent I can think of. Like,
Yeah.
when people really fell in love with something,
Yeah.
like technology.
Well, and the opposite, I remember that you, at your family, you guys had a Windows 8 laptop,
Oh yeah.
and you were, I think that was the peak of your PC hatred, because it was so frustrating for you. Your family couldn't use it, you guys couldn't figure it out, and Windows 8 was going to go down as this
Yeah.
failure in the history.
Right.
It's going to be like with the Atari Jaguar in the annals of history
Yeah.
of just
Oh, yeah.
disasters, right? But then Windows 10 came out, and you were like, okay, I can get back into this a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, back to what I like about PCs is, yeah, I can do anything. I get a new computer, and I spend 3 days
Setting it up,
making
yeah.
it exactly the way that I want it. Like,
You're like Uncle John who likes to fiddle on his Mustangs because it
Yeah.
has no computers in it. It's just old
Yeah.
parts that he understands and he can get around.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
he can fix whatever's.
That's why I use the car analogy. I think it's really good, right? And
Apple's the Tesla, and PC is the Mustang 57, 1957.
P.S. If anyone has a picture of a Mustang 57, please post it in the comments. But yeah, I like that I can do whatever I want, and that's always what it has been, and that's what I find so frustrating with a Mac is
Yeah.
that I'll be there and I'll be like, how do I do this? And every single Mac person around me will go, what? I don't. Can you do that? And I'm like, okay. So
Why would you want to do that?
Exactly.
because I want to fix it. I'm trying to fix things.
Let's make music.
When we're talking about viruses, this is any time a person with a Mac has a virus, they call their PC friend and they go,
Right.
do you know how to fix my computer's broken? I'm like, oh, you probably have a virus. I'm like, oh, what?
You got a Mustang?
Mustang 57.
Yeah. Well,
I guess you say it 57 Mustang. You say
you say 57
Sorry,
Mustang.
I'm not a car guy, obviously.
So yeah,
At least there was one. I could bring it up. I'm like, here's a Mustang 57.
Wow.
So you know enough about cars to. Yeah.
It's like my mom talking about the internet.
oh,
Wow.
The Facebook.
that's what I.
Wait, are we done talking about good things we like?
Do you have something else you'd like to add?
No.
Bad things. You're
Oh.
gonna ask us bad things.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do next was I just wanted to, so you guys can all appease me because I feel really attacked
Okay, I got one.
and hurt right now.
I don't like the direction or the lack of attention that Apple, minus the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, that they've in the last 10 years, and I get why, that the lack of attention or focus on the pro user. So it's shifted. They've shifted from being a pretty niche focused professional company, and then they started selling iPhones or iPods. Probably iPods started it.
Yeah.
And then they started selling iPhones, and then they started selling tablets, and they're like, whoa, we're making billions of dollars, so we're going to put our attention on selling these things. So that's my one gripe right now is that they don't care. They don't care about us.
Well, and that's been an interesting development in turning Microsoft into a hardware manufacturer, which it's never done
Totally.
before, right? Like
Yeah.
we were talking about the Steve Jobs, Bill Gates discussion panel. You can find on YouTube. Watch this thing; it's so awesome. You can watch the two giants of the computer industry just talking about computers and history and everything. But one of the things that Steve Jobs said that he loved about Microsoft was that they were a software developer and they'd always been a software developer and they had stayed that course and that's what they were good at and they kept doing it. But
It's so funny. If that's what they stayed, and they suck at it. They sucked at it. They weren't like,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, because Apple's been making hardware from
Yeah.
like day one,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
But the software's always been better. That was my always gripe
Yeah.
is that I like the software better on an
Yeah.
Apple. That's just anyway. Sorry.
But they have a closed ecosystem. It's the exact same thing with Nintendo, right? For a long
Yeah.
time, people were telling Nintendo to,
Right.
you guys should just start putting Mario games on a PlayStation. Like, stop, like,
well, I can get Mario now on here.
it's Mario Lite.
Man, like-
It's not Mario Pro. That's what I'm looking for.
That's a shift in Nintendo's
Yeah.
saying. That's really quite
Totally.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what Nintendo's always said, and it's what Apple says, is we're hardware. We're a hardware
Right.
/ software developer, but we make hardware. We make really creative, cool hardware.
Yeah.
And that's what Apple has always been too, right?
Right.
But I lost my train of thought.
You're
What
talking
were
about
we
Steve Jobs and Bill Gates
Bad.
and Steve appreciating that Bill's focused on software.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I interrupted you.
Yeah. So that's
What is your
Solid.
guys' negatives about?
I have one. When they came out, I can't remember what OS it was when Apple came out with, but it really did not work well with a lot of software programs. Do you remember which one it was? It was
Like
before
OS?
before Sierra. What was it
Oh,
again? Totally forgot. Yosemite? No.
No, I
Yeah.
think maybe it was Sierra. I don't know.
Maybe it
That's
was
kind of annoying.
Sierra.
Is the OSs that just come out every
So-
year,
well.
and they
So-
they just update.
Yeah, and so the thing was, at that time, I can't remember which one it was, but...
Oh,
it
you're
was-
talking about El Capitan or something?
El Capitan.
No, I can't
That was
remember
the
which
one.
one it was.
That
Maybe
one
it was
broke.
El Capitan.
That one broke
Snow
the world.
It broke, yeah. So
No, Snow
essentially-
Leopard was the greatest OS in the history of Mac OS.
That was a good one, actually. Yeah,
still
I
have
think I
it,
had a
yeah.
Mac when the Snow Leopard was popping.
Dude,
Like,
Snow
Yeah.
Leopard, the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
So I'm just
Sorry.
going to expand on this
Sorry.
and focus this in a little bit.
I get really Dan, I get really passionate about this stuff.
Well, this is just it's a counterpoint to what you guys have said so many
Yeah.
times, and it's something I've been noticing more and more and more, and we've
Yeah.
discussed it here at the shop. Is all of you have said multiple times, it just works. It just works. But
There was
in the
one-
last couple years, these OS updates
Yeah.
and iOS updates
Oh,
have
yeah.
been ruining people's lives
I think-
because they're bricking everything.
Yeah.
I think I probably shouldn't say this because I used to work for them, but I think that they're trying to do too much at once and not really focusing on like fixing the problems. They keep trying to add new things instead of fixing like the problem. So in my case, there was a specific OS update that and I was running Tractor at the time, so I had like the controllers and doing a lot of looping, and I was using my MacBook on stage, and a lot of software programs with music production and performance were not working with it. There was constant audio dropouts, there was constant glitches and things like that, and everyone just kept asking, when is
Yeah.
it going to be update? When is it going to be update? So we thought maybe it was like a Tractor Native Instruments thing, but everything else, like Tractor couldn't come up with some sort of update. It was an Apple thing.
Well, that's the thing that it seems, right? Like Apple isn't giving the beta versions of their new OSs to the software
Yeah, maybe.
developers.
I don't believe so, no.
So a new OS comes out and nothing works.
Everyone has to
And
catch
that,
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the reason why I switched to CDJs from using a computer. That was the reason. I didn't want to encounter that again because I had a lot of issues, and I said it's not worth it. I didn't want something bad happening on stage or whatever. Had my fair share, and that was it. So that's my only thing.
OS
Yeah.
killed you DJing on a computer.
Yes.
Wow.
Just want to write that down for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what? Though?
I,
You know what though? Sierra, when Sierra came out, it actually solved a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But I have, like I said before, in a
Trust
previous,
issues now.
Trust-
I have trust issues now, and so I just show up to the club with the USB, and that's literally all I have to depend on. Is
I
just
would
a
just
USB.
But here's the advice: don't be on the cutting edge. If you're DJing or producing and you need that rig, do not be on the cutting edge of OSs. That's
Yeah.
Windows World too. Like
Yeah.
like that'd be once you got an OS locked, it's working, everything's working.
Yeah.
Don't be on the cutting edge. Have a separate boot disk or another computer that you try the new stuff
Or
out.
like do your
It's-
research. Like don't update if it
Yeah.
comes out right away. Do your research. Make
Yeah.
sure all your plugins and
It's-
software is working.
It's a totally different thing though for on the Windows side because there's only a new OS update every few years. It seems like there's a new OS X update every 10 minutes. Like
Yeah.
all the time there's a new one. With Windows comes out,
yeah, but isn't there like
I've
Service
never-
Pack 2?
Yes.
And
Oh, that was XP though.
Oh, was it?
That's such a long time ago.
No, no.
no, that's common. Like for my Windows 7 desktop, which I still run, I'm on Service Pack 2 or 3.
Yeah, what
with
does that even
They
mean?
still,
Like-
I don't know, but there are like
But that's very rare.
weekly packs that they send out.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff
get your
from
little
Windows.
updates,
Yeah,
but
that
that's the
thing's
same.
always saying that there's a new update for something.
Yeah, but they're generally what they are.
Security updates?
They're security updates. So
Yeah.
they're updating virus definitions. Blah
Leave
blah
me
blah blah
alone.
blah.
I'm good. Everything's working.
And I mean, this is something we haven't even touched on. In a perfect world,
Mm.
if you have a music computer in a perfect world, that computer isn't even hooked up to the
Totally.
internet,
100%.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
If your core,
But that's dreamland.
Yes.
That's like euphoria land. Like,
Yes, and you're running a base, the very first version of your OS. You've never
Yeah.
updated anything. Everything just runs perfectly, and you don't touch anything ever.
Ever.
But that's
Except for the time when, your software you're using gets better and then you want to download it, but then it needs like this OS to work.
Yes.
So on and so forth. That's
Which
the only
happened with
chain
problem.
reaction of
Ableton 10 requires Mac OS High Sierra.
yeah.
So
Nothing for Windows. You can use any old version of Windows.
Yeah.
Windows 3.1 works fine.
I'm just
kidding. I'm just my point
Yeah.
is that it gets more and more and more where I see people going
But
on rants on
no.
Facebook. I updated my OS, nothing works, da 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 da.
Yeah,
And
you're
I
dumb.
never ever
Don't do that.
I never ever see that though with Windows. Nobody goes, "Oh, I updated to the new version of Windows. Nothing works anymore."
Really?
Because no
Yeah.
Never
one.
happens.
Because it never worked in the first place.
And you can also run any program in compatibility mode. So if you have a software program that's not working, you go, "Oh, it worked in Windows 7," so you just go, "Boop, run it in Windows 7."
That's dope.
So
You can do that with anything.
Okay, nice
think-
job, Bill.
yeah,
It just works.
that was good. That was good. But I think don't update the OS level.
Yeah.
Like don't switch. Like Mitch said, don't be on the bleeding edge of that.
No.
Install security updates. You should definitely do that. But it's just the big changes. Like I always get nervous if I'm doing a big
Yeah.
update, and
Me too.
I honestly I was using Yosemite, which is like 4 years old.
Yeah.
Until like last month when I had to install Ableton 10.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Ableton 10 is out. They programmed this for my High Sierra. It's gotta work. Crossing my fingers that my plugins will work.
Yes.
And it was fine.
Well,
But-
and that's the thing. Always
Yeah.
remember too. Before you do an update, check the
everything.
drivers for
Mhm.
your audio interfaces.
well, not a Mac.
We're good.
Well,
We're
if you
good,
are
yeah.
using one, right? Though,
Yeah.
but if you're using whatever kind of interface you're using, you
Yeah.
Yeah,
make
I
sure
haven't-
there's a driver for the new operating system. Like I always wait and I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll
Yeah,
wait.
it
I
depends
used-
on the
I-
interface. Yeah.
I used to have a Native Instruments audio interface, or like a tractor one, and the first version, the MK1, they literally just wiped it from their mind because they couldn't find a fix or anything to work with
Yeah,
Mac OS. So
it
they
was
literally
gone.
just stopped it.
I would say
Wow.
just advice, if we transition to the advice thing, but is once you get serious about what you're doing, buy like an inexpensive tablet or PC for your internets, for your social
Yeah.
medias and your whatever, and keep your rig. Like you said, I think there's a happy medium between euphoria and keep your rig. If you're serious about it, don't be messing about with other
Yeah,
stuff.
separate
Keep it.
it.
It's a tool. It's a weapon. It's a instrument. The laptop is an instrument, and treat it that way. Don't go download the latest whatever and put Steam on there and download games and play games on it and
Build yourself a tower for that.
yeah, go do that.
Yeah.
But separate those things. Don't do all in one. If you're serious about what you're doing, if you're a hobbyist, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And that is where I actually wanted to leave off today, is just for kids. If you're a kid or you're a young producer, you're just getting into this. If you're 65 years old and you're just getting into this, what would your guys' recommendations be for that first computer? Like what should somebody buy? Let's start with Gabe.
Oh, really?
Let's start with Mitch.
Okay, I got two answers.
Okay.
Okay.
PC and a Mac. I would say I'll put on my music producer hat. I don't DJ, so you guys can speak to the DJing side of it. But number one, I would go with an inexpensive PC, and I would look at getting Ableton Lite. Buy a controller. Where's that little Akai? MPK Mini.
Yeah.
Will come- You buy that for what are they? $100?
120 Canadian.
So what? 100 US, 120, $300,000 Canadian.
Also available where?
At Beat
At
Drop.
Beat Drop.
Yeah.
Come here to Beat Drop.
Anyway.
It will come with Ableton Lite. Like it's a demo or a really small version of Ableton. That's the
Right.
least expensive way to get going. And you got a MIDI keyboard, and you have a Windows machine that will run Ableton, and that's one
Bundle software.
one bundle
Yeah.
with a keyboard.
Yeah.
The other one I would recommend is if you're a music producer, is to go with a MacBook Air or a MacBook. Here's why: it comes bundled with GarageBand, and that would be for someone who's brand new, who's just checking out, who was a kid, who doesn't have a lot of money, but they like a MacBook. It's got a little more steez. It's like just slick and it's nice.
Yeah.
If you're a composer, I would recommend going the Mac route because of Logic. Logic is proprietary or only runs, since Apple bought eMagic, it only runs on the Mac platform. So if you're a composer looking to do stuff for media, i.e. for screens like TV, video games, and for film, I would go with a MacBook Pro and I would go with Logic Pro. So that was my answers.
It's. I will add that that Logic is very inexpensive.
Sorry, I didn't even mention that. So
Yeah,
yes, what did we find out?
200, I think you said.
$199 US.
I think it bumped up a bit, but
What,
maybe
Logic?
Yeah.
$199 US. I just had it.
So $200 US. That's the best deal
Yeah.
in any DAW right now.
Yeah.
The amount of effects and everything that you get in it is
Yeah.
fantastic.
My concern would be, is Apple just going to stop caring about Logic one day? That's with
know.
proprietary DAW. That's always I've never used Logic, but that's the thing that's always scared me. I'm like, if Apple just decides one day, oh, we're not doing Logic anymore.
100%.
Yamaha stopped
Yeah.
doing Cakewalk
Well,
a
it's
few
been a
months
fear
ago.
for a long
It's
time.
just done.
They just squashed that fear recently, at least putting us a few more. They just released a new update, this 10.4 update for Logic. It is unbelievable.
I've read it's really good.
It's huge and it's jammed. It's like a I don't know what it's like like when they do,
They leveled up.
No, like when you do a big
It's
release.
beefy.
Yeah, it's very beefy. So the fact that they would put that out looks like they've spent a lot of money
Yeah.
and time,
Yeah.
and they bought certain synth companies. They
Yeah.
bought Camel Fat or whatever,
Yeah.
and they bought
Alchemy. Yeah.
And anyway, so to answer your question, it looks like
They're
It's
sticking
good.
to it.
Yeah, it looks like they've been investing into some new resources for sure for the long term.
And I believe it also comes included in your new $5,000 MacBook or Mac Pro, iMac Pro, sorry, if
maybe,
you want to
yeah.
get one of those.
it comes with Logic Pro.
It comes with Logic
I think
Pro,
it
yeah.
does come
It comes
with it, yeah.
like the software suite that it comes with is pretty impressive.
So it must come with like the what is it, the movie one and
It looked like
Final
everything.
Cut.
from
Yeah,
the
Final
website,
Cut, yeah.
It just you get
Huh,
everything with it.
interesting.
But it's
That's-
5,000 US
And-
to start.
Well, that's the perk. You get everything with it.
There's a
So-
perk. Here's $200 software.
Yeah.
And you were saying, so sorry, for a composer, the other option would be like a popular one would be like Cubase, right, for Windows.
Yep, Cubase.
But
it would be-
Cubase is like the price point. Is
Yeah,
a lot.
it's quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if based on price point, I think Logic and Cubase. Some people would argue Cubase actually has more features, but the
It's
price point.
multi-platform too.
Yeah, so it's the price point and what you get. Logic.
Yeah.
There's no other DAW out there that comes bundled with
For that
that
totally,
money.
stuff.
For that
totally,
amount
yeah.
of money,
Like
yeah.
the
So that's
yeah.
the reason I would say. So for a composer, media composer, someone who's doing stuff for TV, the Apple route, and then if you're kind of a young beat maker wanting to get into electronic music, I think a PC with starting out with Ableton Lite, and
Yeah.
then upgrading from there as they progress. I can look at some of the kids in our kids programs,
Yeah.
and they've all upgraded. And
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing, just I'll give Ableton a plug right now, is a big difference with using Logic and Ableton is with Ableton, you get the community, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially we know that here at Beat Drop, but everybody speaks a little Ableton. Logic is my friends who are using Logic, it's a little bit more, you got to figure stuff out by yourself. It's kind of a go it alone route. And with, you start using Ableton, you're gonna find somebody else real quick
Yeah.
who's using Ableton and who can help you out. And
Yeah.
there's a million
Yeah.
video tutorials, and Ableton's Twitter's always popping, and
Yeah.
Ableton's
Yeah,
Ableton.
yeah.
There's a reason why we love Ableton.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
So any other gripes?
I have a
Oh no, we're off
recommendation.
gripes. We're past gripes. We're on to just recommendations.
Recommendations.
I have a recommendation.
Yes, please.
Okay. Actually, so if you're young and you have parents that love you, maybe, and no, and I shouldn't say that. Okay,
Dude.
'Cause I'm just saying my parents never bought me a laptop, so I had to work.
So they didn't love you? Is that what you're saying?
I think you're equating things different, like wrong. But that's a whole different
okay.
podcast.
Play
So-
button therapy session.
Let's say you're fortunate enough to get a MacBook Air. I would recommend the MacBook Air for the same reason you said. But if you're on a budget, I would say if you're looking to get into music, get an iPad Mini.
Yeah.
An iPad Mini is like with $50 worth of apps is incredible. Like you'll
Yeah.
learn so much on synthesis and programming.
That's two. That's two. The
Yeah, right?
sessions too.
So I don't know because I started making music on my iPod Touch.
Yeah.
Like 8 years ago or something
Yeah.
like that. So that's what drew me into
That's how you started
eventually.
making music.
Yeah,
Oh,
on
wow.
my iPod Touch, and then on an iPad, and then on a laptop, and I just found, there's no distractions, there's no Windows distractions, there's no Mac distractions. It's just you download an app and you're in, and it's a playground.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
the nicest thing now is that a lot of these apps can talk to each other, so you can download a cool drum machine for like $5, get like the best sounding keyboard for another $5, and then you
Yeah.
program it in GarageBand, and it all hooks up together. It's pretty nice.
That's an interesting route to go, and
Yeah.
I mean, we want to talk about cost effectiveness. That's
Yeah.
about as cost effective.
And
as
a
you're
lot
gonna
of these apps have some kind of format that you can export, so that you can make it into a more serious production down the road. So you
Yeah.
can export an Ableton.
What's an iPad Mini
project.
worth these days?
Oh, are you talking about the newest one or the?
You said iPad Mini. Do
iPad
they even
Mini.
make those
No,
anymore?
Yeah.
I think they might have dropped.
Oh,
recently.
maybe?
I think they just make an iPad 2.
Oh, the
And then-
iPad Air
and
is
the
gone. The
Pro.
iPad Mini's gone. It's iPad Mini 2 and iPad.
Oh,
Air
this is
2.
the the
Yeah.
naming dilemma.
Are the
Yeah.
iPad Mini?
It just works.
Yeah.
It's just so easy to navigate.
Yeah.
You just have an iMac Pro Mini.
But even then, the
So,
iPad Mini
2.
2 isn't
I
that
think
expensive.
okay. Let's say iPad. The one they have, it's a 9-inch iPad right now. It's just called iPad. It's $369 US.
I think it's the Air
And it's
2.
no, it's not
No?
Air. It's just
Just
called
Air?
iPad.
Okay.
There's no
And it's,
air anymore.
No, there's no Air. So it's really that's what I have right now. It's an iPad, and it was $329 US.
And so you could buy a PC laptop for like $400,
Yeah.
right?
You could, yeah.
But I still would do the iPad because of
Yeah.
from a music perspective.
Yeah.
If you're just making music,
All the
And it's
apps
fun.
and
You can tap on there. You can play little
Totally.
keyboards.
Yeah.
You can.
the screen is beautiful.
yeah.
The drum machine you can have
Yeah.
access to and have
Yeah.
fun
That's a
with.
great
That
suggestion.
sounds really lame. Crystal. Crystal, do you have any suggestions
You
for?
know what? Being last, they really hit everything on spot.
Yeah.
But I will actually double up on the iPad because just if you're like 8 years old, I wouldn't buy a laptop if I was 8. When I was 8, I never owned
Yeah.
a laptop. You know what I mean?
Who has
So-
money when they're 8 to buy a
Yeah,
laptop?
that's what I'm saying, right? Unless your family's rich or something, and
Or they love you.
yeah. So my cousins, for example, they're twin boys, and they're about 10 years old, and they both have an iPad, and they download, GarageBand for the iPad. In some cases, it actually comes with the iPad.
Yeah.
GarageBand and for iOS, and they can download other little music programs and even like DJing programs, and they can get started that way and generate that interest. And if that's a route they want to pursue,
Yeah,
then
I'm
they
changing
can
my
upgrade.
answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can.
Actually,
they can upgrade that.
Dan, what's your answer?
Have you tried Tractor DJ for iPad?
Actually, I have not.
It's so
but,
fun.
But yeah, that
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
And
You can run the full version of Tractor
Yes,
DJ on
there's
an
an
iPad now.
actual-
It's not full, but it's like an iPad version.
Okay.
well, it's,
Yeah.
it's an iPad version, but there's an actual audio interface created for an iPad so that you can actually DJ and cue and everything.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
A gateway drug. It's very much.
And it's not
Yeah.
as expensive, which is really
No,
cool.
iPads are cool.
Yes!
Better,
Yeah.
It's better
iPads
than
are
your
cool.
tablet. where
My
you couldn't
tablet?
Do
I'm
anything.
with iPad.
Literally twice.
Yeah.
Just in the box,
Oh my
going,
gosh.
"What's up, dude?" And I'm like, "You barely work. What am I
You
supposed
could
to do?"
download the Kindle app and read. That's
Yeah.
probably it.
Yeah.
I have a phone. That's what I can read on my phone. I don't.
Bigger though, isn't it, than your phone?
But I don't. Why? I have a Switch for playing video
Because you're
games.
getting
now it's
old,
bigger
Dan,
than-
and you can't see the words, so you need a bigger screen.
You should see the font size in my Serato library.
Wow.
Okay, those are pretty interesting, good recommendations. They're all wrong, but that's cool. Yeah. So does it just we're gonna end off. We're getting to the
Wrap
end of
it
this
up?
podcast. Does anybody else have anything to add today? I think the clear winner today was PCs. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks,
Mac rules,
Jeremy.
PC drools.
I have a suggestion for Apple for their next OS Maine Coon.
What's a Maine
Maine
Coon?
A cat.
Do they still? No, they do mountains now.
Whatever. Tabby, OS Tabby,
OS
OS
Calico.
Calico. Just use your
Anyways,
names. I
They
mean,
didn't
they
do
were.
house cats. They were doing like.
Yeah, but they should do House Cat 6.
OS Serval is just like
Yeah.
completely all over the place.
Maine Coon, that'd be cool.
Just shuts off and I
I see. I don't get the
name thing.
Stupid.
Cats. They're all
Um,
cats.
Yeah, cats.
Well, they were.
Anything else, friends?
No, I think that's about it for today. We'll continue next time.
I think
please,
PCs are great. I really do.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad I convinced you. Please
Hey.
let us know what your preferences are. Continue the age-old argument. That will never end till the end of time in the comments below if you'd like. And thank you very much for joining us today. Let's say bye.
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 Bye.